Hello everyone, RC8T here. In today's video we're gonna take a little more closer look at my monster truck with four-wheel steering on it that I made by myself about 3 years ago. And the truck itself was bought about 10 years ago, and I wanted to make it transform it to a monster truck. So let's get to the workbench and take a closer look at it. So here you have the monster. As I said, I bought this car about almost exactly 10 years ago. It is Team Associated's first truggy, RC8, first version of it. And I bought it and wanted to transform it to a monster truck immediately. So I bought pre-glued tires. This is not the same ones as I had before. These are much newer, bought just a few years ago. And I also bought a pickup truck body for it. And I had to raise up the body, and I did that by use carbon fiber towers from the RC8 buggy, and just turn them upside down, both front and rear, and used the truggy poles, as you can see here, and also the same in the rear there. And I drive that the car as it was all these years, but about 5 years ago I had that idea that it would be cool and fun if I could make this truck with four-wheel steering. As you understand that a truggy model doesn't have four-wheel steering to buy as a kit or something like that, as ordinary RC monster trucks sometimes do. They are either equipped with four-wheel steering already, maybe, but for most part you have to just buy a kit for it and mount it. But because this is a truggy, you don't have that option either, so you have to build it yourself and come up with the idea. And as I said, 5 years ago I had the idea, and that if I could use just the originally rear arms for it, but it wasn't possible to use the caster block and steering pivot to mount on the rear arms. So I gave up the idea with four-wheel steering for a while. And 3 years ago, it just hit me when I was at a friend, if I can use the front arms instead. In that case, you can use, of course, the caster block and steering pivots because it is made for it already. The only thing was that is the front arms gonna fit in the rear? And yes, they did. So the only thing I had to do that was just mirror mount the caster blocks on the rear tires. So this caster block here is the when you mount it in the front, it's gonna be mount on the left side instead, and vice versa. So, and this side is mounted on this side. So that's all I did. I just mirror mounted them on the rear, and it worked. And then I had to buy another pair of turnbuckles I could use as upper link here, and these are the other upper turnbuckle that I use for steering instead, with longer rod ends. And here's a more closer look at the box with the extra steering servo. And that was the next problem I had to come up with, how to mount the servo in the rear. And I come up with this idea that to use like some kind of box, but the roof itself is not attached to this side. It's just mounted through the metal poles, and those are also mounted here. And the first version that is L-shaped was made of was plastic card, but just after a few runs I saw that it got cracked. We couldn't hold up for the pressure and the steering pressure, so I had to use a much stronger material, and this is just still a metal plate, and I have painted it with heat resisting black paint and baked in the oven. So, and the other thing I wanted to make sure that the servo was mounted with this box with the axle in the center of this drive shaft here, but I did not succeed there as good as I had hoped for. The servo actually with the axle is mounted a little bit more to the right side if you is in this direction and look at it. So that in the beginning, because of that, I had to have this rod and steering rod more narrow here between compared to this side. Here was this longer instead. I think it was about 3 millimeter in length difference. But the thing I did was I scrapped the older carbon fiber piece. As you can see, this is the newest one, and this is made instead that in the center here it sits in the center with this servo horn, but here it is a different shape on it. So these nuts and screws are made so this is in the center instead when the steering is straight. So when the steering is straight, this is centered pretty much perfectly between those nuts here compared to before. So now these two steering rods are exactly the same measurements between these here. So that was solved. And the first version also I had a problem with when it comes to this pole here to rise up the whole steering rod. The first version was just an ordinary aluminum tube, and I noticed pretty quick actually when I steered the truck and drive with it that the material was too soft. So I had screwed on with the screw and nut, and after a few runs it just pushed down the aluminum tube a little bit, so the steering here got wiggly here and loose. So I had to change to a much stronger material, and I found these purple hard aluminum poles instead. And there's the same one here. And these are from the Schumacher SV2 1-to-10 scale buggy. And this is originally for holding up the upper chassis part. But it works perfect as steering here. So it's no more problem with this coming loose because the material is too soft, holding up very well for the pressure. And also a thing you may have noticed is that the starter box is much more higher than usual, and that also is the thing I had to do because when the monster truck was on the starter box in its original height, the wheel was in the ground at the same time, so I could not start the engine and and warm it up and hit the throttle or something like that because the wheels touched the ground too much and was in the ground. So I had to rise it up a couple of, I think it is about maybe 7 centimeters or something. So, as you can see, the tires are about 2 centimeters from the ground now. And even if I hit the throttle at full, the wheels can spin at that RPMs, and it doesn't hit the ground. So, works very good. And it's the thing I used, as maybe you can see, it is a small brass tube with longer screws. And sits down there with a nut on the here, and also as feet I use rubber steel things. It is for cables, and also with a bolt and nut here. And this is just a aluminum square shaped piece, that I used to as a ground there. So, and the last thing I can show also as a occasion is I wanted to have a wheelie bar at my truck, because without the wheelie bar, of course, it's going to be some wheels or either on low speed or high speed, and I want to make sure that the car doesn't flip around backwards. So I did a drawing and got help from a milling school to cut this out, this carbon fiber piece. So they cut out about 6 of them. So I have some spare just in case I succeed to crack one of these, and I have actually made that once. So, and also wanted to make sure that if I jump or something and land maybe too much of the rear of the car first, I also wanted to make sure that it's not gonna hit too much hard on the wheelie bar and maybe bend the screws or things like that. If I had used an ordinary rod here, as I did in the beginning actually, this way I wanted to have a shock here instead. And this is a Traxxas aluminum shock. So I used just ordinary thickness of oil, a 30 or 40 weight or something. And as you can see, it's not pretty hard to bend it up and down. And it is just because if I land too much in the rear first, I land on this wheelie bar and it can spring up a little bit and damp a little bit up. So it's not take too much damage of it. And it still works great as a wheelie bar anyway if you hit the throttle and make a little wheelie. So also a modification I want to have on the truck, not originally of course because it is a truggy, so you have to made it yourself. And I think the only thing left to do now is show you the how the 4-wheel steering that it is actually work. And I also have an older driving video done about 3 years ago, but the engine was not tuned as good as it is now when it comes to the low speed and idle. So I'm hopefully gonna be able to make a new driving video of the trucks pretty soon. Now it is summertime has started, so it shouldn't be long, I hope. So I'm just gonna plug in the batteries and I'm gonna show you the steering. So now the power is on and I'm gonna turn the wheels so you can see. As you can see, there is no problem to steer this truck with front and rear wheels. Works very good. Thankfully for that. Another thing I can tell also, I'm gonna put a link in this description to the first driving video of this made 3 years ago if you don't want to try to find it in the videos list. But another thing I had a problem with was that this servo horn come loose pretty much all the time, and I couldn't figure why. But the solution was to use a few small what it's called, just these type here, almost same as these, but smaller shims. That's the word. Thank you. Small shims inside here to just fill out a little bit of material, and use a larger shim here and screw it on with a little Loctite and things. And now it's holding up very good. And also one other thing I had to do that was also a problem was in the first servos I used was too weak to be able to steer the truck when it's stand still on the ground. So I had to use 7.4 volts lipo, and the older servo was not made for that. Those were just made for 6 volts. So I had to buy these new servos instead, front and rear, and also upgrade the throttle servo, because that was also made for 6 volts and nothing more. So now I have Savöx, it is 50 kilogram of torque, both rear and front, so 100 kilograms there together, and the throttle and braking servo is about I think 36 kilograms of torque, so more than enough for braking and hit the throttle. And also I may, because the thing was that the older servos was that as I said, when the truck was on the ground, it was very hard for them to turn the wheels if you didn't drive at the same time and then steer the truck. And I wanted to be able that the servos should be able to steer the wheels without too much of a struggle, even if the truck is standing still on the ground. And that is no problem at all now. And I can show you that also. Just wait a little. So there we have the truck on the floor, and as you can see, it is ridiculously a good amount of torque. No problem at all to steer the wheels, even if the truck is standing still. So that's the way it should be, and I'm very happy with that. So I think that's it for the truck when it comes to with the detail with the steering and things like that. If you have any questions about this or other question about the truck itself, so please put a note there in the comments, and hopefully soon I'm gonna be able to make a new driving video also. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and we see you in the next video, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.